Howdy folks, welcome to a Lorcana Wednesday deck profile, and today, as the title says right here, we are trying to steal the lore. So this is a Ruby Sapphire deck. This is not the current super meta version or the Lucky Dime version that I made previously. This one is all about a theme and about having fun. So if you're looking for something super competitive, you probably want to go play any of the numerous ones you'll see on the Pixelborn tournaments that have Gaston and Lucky Dime and stuff that's been, pretty thoroughly tested. Or check out my previous list about the Lucky Dime, which I thought was pretty solid in its own right. However, if you want to just do something fun and different, then we're going to do this. So the entire idea around this was, hey, that when he moves to a location, each opponent loses one lore. And the idea of this deck of, well, what if you could just slow them down by just siphoning their lore away? Well, if you look at cards that take away lore from opponents, most of them are red. There are 4 green ones. None of them are very good. I think Tiberius can kind of be okay, but he's also requiring a lot of your characters to die, which is a little weird. These ones are all expensive. And if you notice, too, look, they're all uninkable. They really think this steal lore is an uninkable trait. All uninkable. Rapunzel's uninkable. So the only ones that are inkable is the Tangle action and the 2 Aladdins. And obviously, Hey is a bit conditional, though. So the main things we're using is Hey and the Aladdin, as well as into the Big Aladdin. I still love Big Shift Aladdin, but he's definitely a lot weaker now than he was in set 1, when there weren't a whole lot of other options. Like this Kakamora, it's the same as this Aladdin, but it's uninkable, and they have the same effect. Like, he has one more attack, but that just doesn't really matter, so... yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know why Maui's on here. It loses Reckless. That's why this showed up. So this shouldn't technically even be here. But so this is what our folks on. So the idea was like, okay, so how do we just sit there and steal lore? We got to pretty much be in red. What do we accompany that with? And I thought the idea, well, if we have to use locations for Hey, what's the location with the biggest health pool? McDuck Manor. And I just thought of locations, okay, well, red as RLS Legacy. We've got Jim Hawkins. What if we have this idea where we just go heavy on locations, have Hey come in, and then he can just shift back and forth between locations, and we can use cards like Be Prepared then to help clear the board. We can use things like all the blue elements, Fishbone Quill to ramp up, and then we even get to try out the Vault Door, right? Which is a cool idea. Your locations and characters at locations gain resist +1, so not only are your characters more difficult to deal with, these locations, they can't just Maui fish hook a McDuck Manor. If there's a Vault Door out, they actually have to commit more to it. So that was the idea of the deck. And that's essentially what it's going for. We want to ramp up. We want to get our locations down. If our opponents are getting ahead of us, we want to use Hey and Aladdin's to just try to siphon it back a little bit. We had to put in some draw engines, such as Hiram Flaversham with the Popsicle engine, 2 Tamato on the high end just to get back the Popsicles to reuse them, and then essentially removal effects, Lady Tremaine, Hades, Be Prepared, just to keep the board clear, which again works really well with our own locations because then we're going to get our lore and the Be Prepared won't wipe those out. What I really like about this deck, too, is I was able to keep it to 10 uninkable. So the uninkable is very, very low. You could, of course, add more in if you wanted to add more Hades, just stuff to help keep the board clear. So let's see how it performs. Let's see if there's something to this whole, let's just take lore away from them and just kind of like just slowly pull it back enough so that we can get ahead with our locations. As always, the deck list will be in the description below the video. Let's see how it does. Okay, I have sped these up considerably, so hopefully they'll go just a bit quicker and I can kind of talk over them a little more quickly. Early, you are just looking for early draw engines like Develop Your Brain, Popsicle. Ideally, you want a Fishbone Quill too, so you can ramp out. In this matchup, we're going against blue-green, not a color combination you see too often. We do have the Aladdin Shift potential, if it happens to come up. Most people probably aren't expecting it these days. It's really crazy a card as strong as Aladdin just disappeared after set 1, but hey, that's what happens when you get even stronger stuff. Vault Door is okay here, but and this is kind of the weird thing about these locations and such is that I just go ahead and ink the Vault Door. Could get Jim to set up our locations, or get the Popsicle. I opt for the Jim. Jim, I actually like a lot better in this list because of the ramp aspect. Normally having to wait till 5 to play him, having to have the location in hand, always just felt a little finicky, but knowing we can use something like the Fishbone Quill to get him out so quickly feels very, very good. So we get an even better location. Now we're set up to do McDuck Manor. on our what would be our opponent's only going to be on 3 ink when we slap that out, which is going to be nice. And they have their own Fishbone Quill because ramping is quite strong. And we've got a Hey in 2 locations. Oh boy, look what we get to do. I opt not to use the Quill because I realize, I can actually do Hey and Agrabah next turn. So Jim's happy to already be sitting on McDuck Manor. Our opponent currently not threatening much attack value, so we should have a pretty clean manor sitting there for a moment. Flaversham, wouldn't mind our own Flaversham to get our card draw going. But he is not a threat at all to our locations with such weak attack power. Yeah, they're really in on the item theme. Inked a sardine can there. Have their own develop your brain. So if nothing else next turn, we can legit put down Agrabah. We do get our own Flaversham. So I would imagine this is going to change what I do. Play the Flaversham, ink the Popsicle, and now I see the Vault Door go, oh, okay, well, hold on. Maybe there's something here. So I opt to give up on the Hey because I'm getting ahead on ink value, and I decide to instead just go for the locations. If I can get the Vault Door out next turn, they're going to be really protected. I do move Jim to the Agrabah. That's not really a mistake just because Agrabah and McDuck Manor have no value actually being at them. The only time you don't want to move Jim is that if you're at the Queen's Castle or what's the red one? The RLS Legacy, since those actually have effects for being there. Our opponent puts out their own McDuck Manor. They say, oh yeah, well, I will build a house as well. Now check this out. Not only do we draw RLS Legacy, I go ahead and get rid of the Fishbone Quill at this point because I just don't really need it. I ink the spare Flaversham, and look at this. Vault Door, RLS Legacy, move Jim to it. Now he's evasive. Not only is he evasive, he has resist. All of my locations have resist, so my opponent surely must be thinking, uh-oh, this guy's going to be getting 6 lore a turn from these locations, and they all take less damage from an attack. I mean, I don't even know how you do anything about that, at least not, yeah, just like, all right, well, I'm on lethal right now, because Jim Quest for 2, locations are going to give me 6, and Flaversham's going to give me 1 as well. So 3 plus 6, that's an even 9. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what their deck actually did, but we went too fast. On the play, which of course is always strong in Disney and Lorcana, especially when they don't have anything threaten those locations. My goodness. Look at that. Went to town. Yeah, there you go. That just shows you how quickly it can explode if you get the right kind of setup and they don't have something that can just immediately answer them. All right, Sapphire Amethyst. We are going second this time. Pretty solid opening hand, though. 2 Develop Your Brain, a Popsicle, and a Fishbone Quill, and a Manor and a Vault Door. Yeah, one of the very rare no mulligan, like, yeah, you know what? I'll keep this. Why not? I'm going second anyway, so I'll even have an extra card that if I don't want to ink any of these, which I ideally don't want to, as they're all quite nice and they all help develop my board. Opponent inks a Magic Golden Flower. Unfortunately, we draw the Uninkable Be Prepared, so I will have to give something up. Probably the Manor. You could argue maybe I should favor the locations a bit more, but I'm always a sucker for the digging, too. And yeah, drawing a second Vault Door, that did make me go, probably should have kept that. Probably should have maybe given up the Grandma Tala. We have a Popsicle and 2 Develop Your Brains. It's pretty good. Opponent's playing Ursula's Cauldron, and since this is Sapphire Amethyst, I'm thinking they're probably on the Sorcerer's Hat combo, where you can predict what the next card is with the Ursula's Cauldron, the Sorcerer's Hat names it, and then lets you draw into it, which is very nice. We just start to draw a little deeper. Flaversham's going to hit that Popsicle, which is very nice. Flaversham can always hit the Quill and the Vault Door, too, if we absolutely need him to. Our opponent hardcast Friends on the other side. Far too early for Aladdin. Get out the Quill. I ink the Be Prepared, which you could always argue maybe it's a mistake, but because they're not threatening anything on the board right now, I feel okay not using it, since I know I'm probably going to try to get at my locations. And looks like they're just trying to ramp up, build their board up as well. Now, I kind of wish I hadn't gotten rid of Bigger Aladdin, but that's okay. So I can do Flaversham. I can do the Vault Door. I opt for Flaversham. Figure that gives us a couple more options to choose from. I'm just getting all the Aladdin, so I say, all right, well, so much for that plan. Yeah, I do like Aladdin as far as the lore stealing. Yeah, it's conceptually, maybe this concept will get stronger if they add more stuff that steals lore in the future, and if it's inkable, and cards that, Hey's cool, and I like the card, but it is required to have locations to get the lore off of it. So luckily our opponent isn't really ahead of us in lore at the moment. It's not like they've rushed us with aggro, which there are a couple matches I filmed trying to show off this deck that I didn't even bother to put on here because, yeah, I would just get aggroed down in, 3-4 turns, and you can't even set up the lore stealing in time to do anything about that, so. Opponent, we're actually running Bell's House, so yeah, they're clearly on a full items list. We have the gym. We can do the Agrabah, but that one on its own doesn't feel good, so instead I'd opt to just hard play the Agrabah with the Vault Door, help protect it a bit. I ink the Quill, thinking I'm probably, or ink the Hook, thinking I won't need it, and then get the Quill and draw into a nice Develop Your Brain. I go for the Maleficent as I'm already on 8, and I value her a bit more than the Be Prepared. Don't want to wipe out my own Flaversham if possible. And yeah, my opponent has 2 attackers on the board that don't hit for any damage. And if this game ever had a sideboard, locations I think would be a really favorable thing to put in the sideboard, because if you don't have strong attackers, how do you attack them, especially when your opponent has cards like this? So now, seeing the Queen's Castle come down, I'm a little like, blah, I shouldn't have got rid of the fish hook because I have Maui, but Maui and Flaversham can trade into the Queen's Castle and I can cut off their card draw. Opponent also playing locations. However, Bell's House, as much as it's nice for their free item gain, it doesn't threaten any lore per turn. So, I mean, yeah, they're getting more items, but I can just sit here. So now I can put down a Manor or a second Vault Door. I could even do a Hey combo. And yeah, I just put down a second Vault Door and say, okay, you cannot hit my Agrabah, and I'm going to be taking out any locations you put out with Maui. And then once Hey and the Manor come down next turn, not only will I have 2 insanely difficult to get rid of locations, I'll be able to start going back and forth through lore. Yeah, he actually gets rid of his own spellbook just to take out Maui and says, nope, you're not threatening my locations. To which I think, yeah, and here comes Rafiki, but Rafiki's only going to do 1 damage to Agrabah currently. And the Vault Doors benefit the, I always want to say creatures, I guess they're characters that go there as well. So if I move Flaversham there, Flaversham's going to take reduced damage as well. So we do McDuck Manor. Here comes Hey. Bakak! I'll go ahead and take 1 lore, move Flaversham there. Don't want to use the Flaversham because I want to keep both Vault Doors. So now I'm sitting on 2 lore a turn from the Manor and Agrabah, so that's 4. And Hey can just bounce back and forth between them currently. And I think my opponent's starting to realize that I could see him hovering over the Vault Doors like, wait a minute. What? I can't hit these things? Yeah. So Flaversham and Scrooge can do 0 damage to them. 0 damage to my characters. Rafiki can do 1 because it'll get reduced by 2. I mean, our opponents of Item City, they've definitely got their own combo right now. But I'm just saying, well, if you can't deal with these locations, I am just going to get way ahead of you lore-wise. Comes back to me. We gain 4 lore from our locations. Move over. Shrink them down by just 1 more. Happily quests against like, all right, what are you going to do? Here you go. You can get rid of whoever you want. I'm just playing it for a body. When I'm playing against something like blue-purple, I know you don't have any mass board wipes. So now I'm just sitting on lethal. Tremaine's 2, 4 from our locations, 2 on the board. Tamatoa, good card. You know, if they have a lucky dime in there, they could certainly get a lot of lore out of that, but I'm already threatening. Yeah, that's great. You have to hit. And even Tamatoa can't even take out the Agrabah with the double Vault Door. And I have Be Prepared too, so even if they could answer, my characters, I can just wipe the board and sit on the locations. Yeah, see, they send in Rafiki for a whole 1 damage at Agrabah. Obviously, these are still going to lose to something like Rise of the Titans and Steel, which I don't know why Steel has that card, where they can just outright break them, or banish them, I guess they call it in this game. But if they're sitting here trying to attack in, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that. Not that we needed another one. Yeah, our opponent's like, all right, that's enough. Next, we have Sapphire and Amber. Got to run into a lot of fun combinations during this day. And I will say, again, there are some matches where I ran against aggro especially that I didn't think were worth showing because the game was over in 3 turns and I just got beat down. So I'm not convinced that this is competitive. If you wanted a super competitive meta deck, if this was really competitive, I'm sure other people would have thought about it and experimented with it right now. So if you really want a competitive Sapphire or Ruby deck, check out my Lucky Dime video or one of the many Pixelborn topping tournament decks. But this is more, hey, you want to have fun and you want to do something different, which is always needed in a card game, right? Sometimes we get tired of just seeing the same meta stuff over and over and over again. The only thing about this hand is we have an incredibly slow start right now. We actually don't have a play until turn 3. So luckily we're going first, but yeah, it's 2 turns of just ink and pass. And we'll see if this slow start's going to bite us in the butt, or if we can still, if the ramping alone will help get us where we need to go. Opponent plays Philatides, so I'm thinking this is probably an Alice-based deck. I mean, usually Sapphire Amber is. You want all the characters that can support and buff her up. I go ahead and get rid of Flaversham, as the only item I have is the quill, and I'd rather not get rid of that right now. And you don't really want to break Vault Door. Like, the only reason I think you'd ever want to break Vault Door of Flaversham is you're going to lose if you don't. It's your only way to dig for an answer. Our opponent opts to play a Popsicle and a LeFou. So I go ahead and try to dig a bit deeper with Grammatala. Be Prepared is kind of nice here just because I'm assuming they'll play more cards out. And I do want to get to the Be Prepared, so I go ahead and give up the Maui. I'm hoping they're going to drop more characters and I can just wipe the board next turn and then have my Vault Door and McDuck Manor to follow up with. So our opponent plays Flaversham, gets rid of one of their Popsicles to get 2 cards deeper. I am certainly lacking for card draw right now. And I'm assuming I'm probably going to Be Prepared this board on my turn, even though it's not amazing. Like, they're not threatening a lot of lore questing-wise other than the LeFou, but they do have the Flaversham with a Popsicle sitting there, so they can at least keep ramping their card draw. So I'm very likely going to be like, yeah, we'll just get rid of it. I opt to give up the manor, or the door. You want the manors over the door if you have to make a choice, because the manors at least give you lore potentially. Whereas the door just sits there and without a location doesn't do anything. Opponent just plays Singer Gaston. Now I do go to get rid of the quill. As long as the quill has ramped me 1 or 2, I'm usually pretty happy with that. And I go ahead and put out McDuck Manor. I could have put out the Legacy. I opt for the one with 1 more health point. It's just because every health point matters. Legacy will be good too, though, because I can make Flaversham evasive, which is very nice. And here come the dwarves. Is that happy? Haven't seen dwarves in a minute. Well, wouldn't you know it, we top deck Vault Door, and I slap out the manor as well. I can't move Flaversham to him right now, but that's okay. I don't really want to quest with him at the moment. I'm just going to sit on these that they'll now take 1 less damage from each source, and I'm going to get the Legacy out next turn too, so I'm just going to be... call me a real estate mogul, because I'm just building houses and locations and ships, and I'm just going to sit on them. So our opponent, wisely sensing this, says, you know what? I'm just going to race you then. If that's what you're going to do, is try to sit and wait for these locations, I will just try to get ahead of you on lore, which is a little worrying. So we put out Aladdin. He, of course, helps us get a... He takes 1 lore back, which could make the difference. Move Flaversham to any of the locations, benefit from the Vault Door. I don't have enough to move to the Legacy. That'd be ideal for the evasive, but still gives him resist. And so I'm looking to generate, I'll go to 14, 15, 16, but our opponent's going for quite a lot too. Opts to actually try to attack, perhaps sensing that I will outrace them. I'm not aware of what their total lore on the board is right now. It's not huge. I don't think, like the Owls, I think just quest for 1. I think the only thing that quests more than 1 right now is the Happy. Yeah, so launch, shoots it at Flaversham, but it doesn't kill him because of the Vault Door. Actually keeps him alive. But goes to get rid of it. Does play the Duke, so going very wide. Now trying to quest out. They may have been better there just questing out anyway, making me answer them, but we develop our brain. We get a hey, so again, okay, I'm just going to steal more lore. I'm just going to keep you that low on it. Move them both to the Legacy, which of course gets cheaper once one person's there. Quest. Yeah, so they're questing for 7 currently. I've stolen 2, so they would have been on 19 otherwise. And, you know, I don't know if they have a way to just instant cheat steal lore there, but... And yeah, they quest out. They have to answer my locations, or I'm just going to win on the spot, but they can't do it. Like, they can't, all those bodies with the resist is just not gonna work. So, woohoo! Got another one. Last but certainly not least, Ruby Amethyst, one of the kings of the meta itself. Can we beat up on this deck? The big advantage any blue deck has over Ruby Amethyst is that it has to go 1 turn at a time, whereas we can ramp very quickly. Not with this hand so much. As you saw, I had to get rid of a lot of high cost stuff. We do have at least Popsicle, Develop Your Brain, Flaversham. No Quill though, so remember that advantage I just mentioned about ramping up? Yeah. Not currently present. And we're going second. We drew a second. Be prepared. Woohoo. Popsicle into Popsicle is not bad, though. We at least have ways to keep getting further and further through our deck. And our opponent missed their 1-drop, too, so they didn't get to do the snake. First I do a Develop Your Brain. I get a second Fish Hook. Ruby Amethyst doesn't have a way to break any items, so I'm happy to ink one of those. There's been a few games I've actually gotten out 2 Fish Hooks, which can be pretty fun, but for the most part, usually only 1 is necessary. Get rid of one of their own locations. Now, they are often running things like Maui and Fox, cards that can hit pretty hard, so we have to be a little mindful of our locations. In this one, we have Jim in the Legacy. We actually have 2 Jims, so I go ahead and ink the second one, so I don't need it. And I just put out the hook. Not an amazing turn 3, but when you don't have the quill, you have to pay for the hook at some point, right? You got to pay for it, and then really start using the 2 to use it every turn. So in lieu of a Fishbone Quill, I don't mind just getting that on turn 3. And our opponent puts out the Queen's Castle. And now, with no rush of my own in hand, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I got the hook out there because I've got to deal with this thing. So Flaversham, see if maybe we can find a Maui. Now we get our Quill. A little too late at this point. And yeah, this one's looking kind of weird. They've got the castle. I don't have any locations. I didn't get to ramp, so I'm just keeping pace with them. I do have the ramp option now, but... Pinocchio, they exert my Flaversham, which is a little strange. I guess I just wanted to, because if they do that, they don't have enough for the Maui this turn. They could Rafiki and Fox. So they move Rafiki to the castle. So now they can't Fox. And he opts to Quest. Yeah, so I don't know if that was a misplay or they legit had nothing better to do. It was kind of strange that they did that. I have my third Be Prepared in hand. I do have the Maui finally, so I say, okay, you know what? Let's get rid of one of these Be Prepareds. As much as I want to keep the Vault Door, I need to ink stuff, and I really don't want to give up the Popsicle. Make Flaversham evasive. Get another Jim Hawkins. So we're going to have to pull a bit of a comeback from this Queen's Castle, but I'm at least set up to either Be Prepared the board next turn or send Maui in to just clean up the castle. And I am ready with potentially Jim double RLS Legacy, which is pretty cool. And there's the goat, and they're just going to keep rushing ahead on lore. And I remember I was feeling very nervous at this point. It's like, okay, so what's the right thing? So first, let's just see what we get off the Popsicle. God, so many locations. I just want to put them all out. I go ahead and get rid of a third, I don't want that many Legacy. I mean, I do, but I can't play them all. Opt for the Be Prepared. Wipe the board, and unfortunately I ink one of the Mauis, holding on to the Jim, and I'm hoping, well, I'm just going to have to... The castle's really pulling them ahead. Luckily, they haven't been able to draw cards off of it. And there's another goat. I mean, they are just... And a goat bounce. Holy moly, there's 14 lore. Can we do something about that? So we have to get rid of the castle. It's already given them way too much lore. Fish hook for free going in. And now, as I have a third Jim in hand, I'm just like, oh, what do I ink? I actually get rid of the third Jim. I put out my own McDuck Manor. I'm still holding double Jim, double RLS Legacy, which I really want to get out. But I got to be mindful, too. They have that goat in hand. And they're already at 14, so they can really just put the pressure on me. It puts out Cusco and the goat, and Quest goes to 16. And at this point, I have to be prepared. I cannot let that goat continue to get more bouncing. Puts him up to 13, but I do draw Aladdin. I opt to pass because I'm really holding on to the... Or no, I don't opt to pass. I ink one of the Jims as much as I want to do the combo, but I have to try to control that lore. So I slap out Aladdin. Opponent doesn't have anything to play, so now finally, here comes Jim. Here comes the RLS Legacy. Let's move to it. Here comes the next RLS Legacy. All the pirate ships. And now I've got a chance, because I am sitting on 6 lore from locations, plus 2 from Jim, 8. I'm going up to 9 next turn. And they're going for the rabbit. So I have got a massive opening here, thanks to these locations. An opponent rabbit bounces, clearly looking for answers, draws. I mean, they can still, if they can goat combo off of anything. There we go, all the way up to 30. We get another, all right. Another RLS Legacy, and just like that, look how that flipped. Okay, I give Jim double evasive in case they kill the legacy. So now I'm saying, okay, you have to kill. What do you do here? Like, genuinely, what do you do in this board state? I'm going to get. You can be prepared. That's great. And I'm now going to get 24 lore from my location, or go to 24 is what I meant to say, not 24. Yeah, that's very satisfying. So you see, I think there's something here. Something. Now, again, is it better than all the super competitive stuff? That I don't know. Vault Door in particular does feel very slow. Paying for an item that basically doesn't do anything the turn it comes in unless you already have locations in play. But hopefully this concept will get stronger as we get more stuff that steals lore. I would love to be able to just consistently sit there and bing, 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 bing with hey, hey over and over again, but the game's just kind of too fast for that. Like, it's enough to keep you in the game when you just need 1 or 2 or 3 lore to steal to stay competitive in it, but it does feel good to race ahead with the locations. So locations are a very interesting card type. I'll probably make a video just on them maybe next week or the week after. I've have some thoughts on them. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this. It is fun. Again, don't expect this to necessarily win anything, but maybe it is. Maybe it's a little stronger than it first looks. If you've got any ideas for improvements or tech cards, I always love hearing about those in the comments. So thank you for watching so much. I appreciate it. Enjoy your day, and until next time, explore those locations and take that lore back where it belongs. Bye.